who prefer to have your wealth physical, have it in your control and in your presence with your ability to move it and take it around, hold it, have it, transact with it in the unseen world of precious metals, the archaic and barbarous relics that they are. Store gold in minced meat. 26 ways to store gold. This was on Bullion Star, also reposted on Lou Rockwell today. So this article is making the rounds. I've gotten a lot of questions over the years on my opinion on holding precious metals, where to locate them. And I keep that pretty secure and close to heart. So I'll never divulge exactly all the places, all of the avenues, and ways in which I employ the hiding and securing of precious metals. I have friends who I let remain anonymous, and I have shared ways that they have gone about it, which is different from mine. Different vaults, different techniques. There are ways of doing it. And just as a crypto can be hacked, stolen, vanished, or disappeared, there is risks to any of the ways people hide precious metals. Just as you could throw them away on accident if you forgot that you put them in a loaf of bread in the freezer or whatever. But let's look at the 26 ways mentioned here. Gold is a highly valuable asset. When you buy gold, it is critical to store your gold bars and gold coins in a location that is secure but at the same time accessible. Inside a home, there are many places to store gold and other precious metals in your home, with some places more secure and covert than others. Luckily, since physical gold has a high value to weight ratio, for most people, storing their gold bars and gold coins won't take up too much space. I'm going to include examples in this video that are not mentioned here, so tune in and pay attention. Stick around for the whole thing if you're looking at ways to hide your precious metals. Floorboards. Gold can be hidden under floorboards between joists, preferably under a short section of board covered by a rug or a carpet. A chimney. Positioning gold in a recess within a disused fireplace, chimney stack, is also an option. There are other ways. We'll go with the last one, chimney there. Sometimes with masonry, you'll have loose brick or a brick or a particular discolored stone, if it's not even brick, if it's made of other stones, that you can cut around, remove, and create kind of a false back, maybe carve that stone out, and then loosely place it with a very light amount of mortar or gray sanded caulking. There's other ways you can do it, but you secure that stone back in place with the false backing. It can even be on the outside of the home. It's not going to harm it. You could do this with a working fireplace if the flue was a separate clay flue chase inside. And then the precious metals that are hidden in that void space are secured with a stone that looks like it's always there and in place. You could make it so secure that it would require physical chiseling to remove that stone in a time of crisis or emergency, fleeing, displacement, whatever. You're talking about a 30-second procedure to remove a rock and then get that metal out. That is a way to do this. When you look at chimney, a lot of different ways to do it there. Loose stones, loose bricks. Floorboards, yes, anywhere where you have floorboards, boarding that can be pulled up, a deck, an outside deck that's kind of enclosed. You could even go below those boards and then have a container which is buried also underneath the decking. So there's different techniques there with gravel on top of it or earth cloth to secure and make it to where the hole that was dug or where its place is diffused, you can't even see it. Only you would know the location underneath that particular decking or location. A patio. Think of a brick patio. Again, back to stones, bricks, pavers. You could have an entire patio put in with bricks, paver stones, sanded stones, whatever. And then somewhere on that stone, maybe the 10th stone in, 10 stones on the edge, 5 stones in, beneath that particular stone or brick or paver is your precious metal hoard. You could pull it up and then there you go. You know where it's marked. You could create some fancy, cool little code on the outside. Again, within a wall, a natural hollow or cavity in an internal wall, or a hidden panel in a wall are also worth considering. Frozen food. This is an interesting one. Hiding gold bars and gold coins within frozen food in a freezer is possible. For example, actually buried and frozen within minced meat or in a large tub of ice cream. Horizontal chest freezers used for long-term deep freeze storage of supermarket produce are ideal for this tactic. Now, I have an actual true story that I heard through family members of an individual that had put cash in large butcher paper wrapped packages and labeled them cheese. And those were in a freezer, big bundles of butcher wrap paper full of, quote, cheese. It was just cash. Another technique, this false large pieces of decorative furniture, such as a grandfather clock that might have a void space in them, either on top or on bottom. You can create, if you are handy with woodwork, a false bottom or a false space within that large clock or structure that is decorative and inside of a house, bookshelves even, and anything that you can do where you match the wood, the finish, and it looks solid, or it looks like just part of the structure. You could throw someone off that would just, if you glanced at it, it would merely look like part of the decoration, part of the way the original item was designed. But you know that behind a particular slat of wood or a false bottom floor, such as the base of a grandfather clock or the top where the lock mechanism is hidden a space with an amount of precious metals hidden within. If that makes any sense, if you guys can kind of picture that in your mind. Piping. In a kitchen, possible covert storage locations include within a section of disused kitchen piping, or indeed within a section of false piping that has been specifically designed to accommodate your gold bars and coins, but which does not function as a real pipe. Now, I think this is brilliant. I've never even thought of this one. Just getting some PVC, a couple of elbows, and filling it with precious metals, securing it in place with some brackets and glue in a wall or cabinet location that makes it appear as if it were just plumbing pipe. And I bet the best way to do it would make it look like sewage plumbing pipe. If you really wanted to get fancy and artistic, you could do some faux poopy stain around the joints and seams, old drip marks, and that would really discourage someone from handling, getting into, or even wanting to cut open a pipe, because everyone fears poopy. No one wants to get it on them. So there you go. Poop, pipes, plumbing. Throw them off the trail of the gold. Okay, air conditioning. Gold can be concealed within an air conditioning duct, which has the added benefit of usually being above head height. Any ductwork would work. You could again go with the inspiration of the above piping and get some false sheet metal ductwork that ran through a basement or a chase site, any type of a ceiling, apartment, condo, wherever your domicile type is. And then you could secure your metals in a false duct type of situation. Furniture, we somewhat discussed that with the clocks and the shelves, the bookshelves, but heavy objects such as immovable furniture can also be considered as hiding places for gold, places that may not be obvious to time-constrained intruders. For example, gold bars and gold coins could be securely attached within a compartment, inside a chest of drawers, or even stored inside a piano. A large cache of gold sovereigns was actually found inside an old piano in England in 2017. Aquarium. For those with options, storing a gold bar or gold coin cache inside an aquarium or a fish tank is worth considering among aquatic plants and fish tank paraphernalia. If you really wanted to get fancy, you could just pour the coins in there and put a little pirate ship on top of them. And anyone who glanced at it would just think it's a fake set inside of your aquarium. There's no way you'd be dumb enough to put your gold coins right there in plain sight with a pirate ship and some nice little fish swimming about them. Large plant pots. Large indoor plant pots on a veranda, patio, or balcony provide another covert place for hiding gold. With the gold within the pots under the actual plants, these pots are always difficult to move and would not normally be on the radar of a burglar. Attics and basements. Attics and basements provide further practical options for covert storage, and the inconvenience and difficulty of accessing such locations could act as a secondary deterrent to thieves. 10. Water tanks. In an attic, one possible place to hide your gold bars and coins is in a covered water tank. Insulation. Number 11. Another option is to secure your gold under ceiling insulation, preferably on ceiling joists that can support the weight of the gold. Have you had a lot of weight of gold? Well, that's not a problem most of us have. We're talking ounces here. When it starts to become dozens of pounds, you end up in an entirely different category of metal stacker. Basement. Within the basement of a house, the choices for hiding gold are varied and include alcoves behind walls and under a basement floor. Also, what else is in basements? Plumbing. We could do the poopy pipe technique. I should patent that. The Junius Maltby poopy pipe. I could start selling them. I could get like PVC, prepackage it, paint it up with faux poopy, and sell it. All right, basement junk. A gold cache can strategically be placed in one of the many large junk items or boxes that invariably end up being stored in basements, as long as you make a good record of which item or box you have stored your gold in. You don't want someone coming over and voluntarily helping you clean out the basement, or having a family member, a loved one who you live with, who inadvertently tosses out a box full of precious metals. Paint tin. Gold coins or gold bars can be hidden in an old paint tin, in a garden shed or workshop, a tin that is securely sealed and looks to have not been opened in a long time. The sheer difficulty for intruders to search numerous old paint tins in a shed or workshop makes it highly improbable that anyone would spend time doing so during a break-in or a robbery. I'm sure many of you have a garden shed or a garage in which you keep your paint tins. So there you go. There's one idea. And if you wanted to add complexity to it even more so, you could put the gold bars, the silver bars, within Ziploc bags, triple bag them perhaps, rubber band them, and put them in paint tins that are relatively full of actual paint. The can would then be heavy, which would make sense because it's full of paint. And if someone were to open the lid and look inside, all they would see is paint. And it would really throw off anybody because they're not going to dip their hands in a can of wet paint and search around for anything that might be below the surface. On your land or property, apartments will in most cases lack a garden, a location which can offer the adventurous multiple cunning places in which to covertly store their gold. Buried in a garden. If your property has a garden, you can dig down into the ground on your land, wrap your gold securely, and bury it deep enough in the hole under the soil. A fish pond. Those with a large enough fish pond could also consider storing their gold cache at the bottom of the fish pond, preferably among pond plants or reeds. This is getting pretty complex now. Under and in trees. Under a tree in your garden or in the hollow of an old tree trunk on your property provide further concealment opportunities for gold. Indeed, in 2014, a U.S. $10 million cache of 19th century gold coins was discovered under a tree on a property in Northern California. We have covered that here on the channel, and I would encourage you guys to look up the Saddle Ridge Hoard. That's an incredible stash of gold coins with some mystery surrounding it as well. RV and caravans. Those with RVs or caravans or rarely used boats that are stored on their properties could consider the possibility of storing their gold in these vehicles. However, this is presuming the entire property is secure and inaccessible to intruders and runs the risk that the RV or boat or caravan might itself be the target of a robbery. I did like treasure stories as a kid, and there was one in particular in which I read where I remember they used a shadow to point to or direct a searcher for a particular treasure. And there was only like one time of year where a particular shadow would land or point on a specific location on the ground below which a treasure or a clue to the treasure was buried. And I always thought that would be a really fun and interesting way to do it. You would need, obviously, the whatever object that casted the shadow to not grow or be movable. It couldn't be like a tree, for example. It would have to be a rock outcropping, a stone. Think of a sundial technique. And then at a particular time of year, during maybe a solstice or something, a shadow would be cast. And at that particular point of that shadow, the tip of which, beneath that location, would be your buried treasure. Of course, the trouble with that is you'd only be able to then dig it up perhaps once a year. Hidden rooms, home safes, display cases. Hidden room. For those lucky enough to have a panic room or other hidden room in their house or apartment, this would obviously be a ready-made location to store their gold, as it is both secure and concealed. But would this be the first place a team of sophisticated intruders would try to locate and access if they had suspicions that such a room existed? Home safe. A home safe will offer a secure location in which to store gold bars and coins. Home safes range from the small models, such as those found in hotel rooms with digital keypads, to larger safes with combination locks, to large models that are fireproof and waterproof. The main consideration with a home safe is whether the safe itself is hidden and concealed within a house or apartment, or whether it is installed in a location which is easier to access, but which could be discovered by burglars. Another thing to consider, if the safe is in open view or discovered, can they bust it free or loose, remove the safe, carry it to another location, and then spend more considerable time opening and destroying the safe with torches and actual tools? Because every safe there is can ultimately be defeated and invaded by those that wish to get the contents out. Display cases. A final home option for those with the means and security would be to store your gold bars and gold coins in museum style, high security, and alarmed display cases within your house or apartment. While this will impress friends and visitors, you would need to be confident that your property is fairly impenetrable. I guess that is an option. I don't know who would do that. The other option would be similar to the Bill of Rights or the Constitution of the United States. I believe it's in a bulletproof case, and if it's tampered with, it immediately drops and falls into like a 300-foot chasm, and the roof of which seals up, not allowing it to be stolen or touched. There's all different types, I guess, of security systems you could theoretically put in place. However, cost would preclude most of us from exploring any of those options. Public land. On public land, a less used and unusual tactic would be to hide your gold bars or gold coins in a secure and remote location which is on public land, for example, in a forest, a mountainous area, or a coastal location. These locations have the benefit of being completely off the radar, but could by chance be inadvertently discovered by passers-by or disturbed by wildlife. A public location also runs the risk that it could be developed in the future, for example, for road or path construction, so your gold could end up being buried under asphalt. This is not an option for me or most people. Even deep in a wilderness area, it would be difficult. You're talking about having to hike or trek to the location. It's just not something that I believe is very feasible. Unless it was a public land that might have been right behind your property or your house where you live, you could see it. And then if anything were to be developed or a project initiated, you could then go and retrieve your treasure. Safety deposit boxes. Safe deposit boxes. Renting and using a safety deposit box is a common way to store valuables, including gold bars and gold coins and other precious metals. while safety deposit box companies and banks will pitch the fact that only the key holder has access to and knowledge of the box contents, this is a two-edged sword in some jurisdictions because of the following. If police or other law enforcement officials raid a safety deposit box company in the pursuit of criminal assets and seize all the contents of all the boxes, then your legitimate valuables could be confiscated and be extremely difficult to get back. For example, a number of safety deposit box companies in central London were raided by Metropolitan Police in 2008, events in which everything in every box was seized. In typical government style, gold, jewels, and other high-value assets were the most of interest to law enforcement. This type of operation undermines the entire premise of deposit box confidentiality and is a disaster for those storing legitimate assets in these locations. Yes, safety deposit boxes are often considered very controversial, especially in the precious metal stacking community, where we already hold a distrust for government and for banks. So that's kind of a non-option for many of you. I know that. I understand that. It's part of the article here. That's why I read it. Safety deposit box companies can also be the target of professional thieves. Again, London provides a prime example when in 2015 the vault of a safety deposit company in the famous Hatton Garden Jewelry District was robbed by a gang of professional thieves over an Easter weekend, and millions of pounds worth of assets were taken from a large number of safety deposit boxes in the vault. Safety deposit boxes within bank properties also pose another concern, in that since the box location is within a bank premises, the location could become inaccessible in the event bank remained closed during a financial crisis. Think Cyprus in 2013, or fall under dictatorial government directives that the contents of safety deposit boxes would be inaccessible due to capital controls. Think Greece 2015. A final point to note is that safety deposit box companies can eventually open your box if you fail to pay the storage charges and sell whatever is needed to pay the outstanding storage fees. Another less than desirable option are these two, 24 and 25, stored with family or attorney, solicitor, family member. A less obvious option would be to ask a trusted family member to take care of the storage arrangements for some or all of your gold bars and gold coins. Storing portions of your gold in various locations could be considered a location diversification strategy. This arrangement would obviously be based on trust, and you would need to ensure that wherever they stored the gold at their property was itself a secure and sensible place. 25. Attorney, lawyer, solicitor. In a similar vein, you could instruct your attorney, lawyer, solicitor to take care of storage arrangements for some or all of your gold. This arrangement would have to be based on a formal contractual arrangement or understanding and could involve a legal trust in some instances. It would probably also involve another layer of costs. Again, you would need to determine that the storage location used by the lawyer or attorney was practical, smart, and secure. No, thank you. External secure vault. 26. Secure vault storage. Beyond home storage options, a popular choice for many is to store their gold in the vault of an external precious metals storage provider. When using such a service, a number of considerations are critical, such as the jurisdiction of the provider, its reputation within the industry, the cost of the storage service, whether the storage is allocated, and the flexibility and access offered to customers to keep track of, view, audit, and withdraw their gold or precious metals. There are these throughout Europe. We've seen images of various vaults and how they functioned for very elite and very wealthy clients. I know some of these actually have deposit minimums, and it's the measure of which I don't think very many of us could attain. I mean, you're talking about Comex size bars of gold, 400 plus 500 ounces, 430, 428, and then thousands of ounces, 5,000, 10,000 ounces of silver or so. Now we look at the Texas Bullion Depository, which we discussed that recently. There's an option there for storing precious metals if you're in that region. And again, there's many options here, 26 that we just reviewed for storing precious metals. I'm sure some of you could invent and devise your own methods of storing precious metals. I myself have been witness to numerous vaults and securing methods. I've been in homes with everything from large built-in vault rooms that were a room unto themselves, impenetrable, very secure, to hidden concrete enclosed floor vaults. I've seen false fronts, false bottoms, everything in between. There's all different methods to securing precious metals, hiding wealth, hiding precious metals. So it's up to you to secure them, figure out what's best for you, start doing some research. There are commercial products available, floor vaults, hidden methods, and then we discussed ways you can do it yourself. You can make, I'm going to say it again, a poopy pipe.